In tonight's headlines, 2 major land crossings will stay open for longer during the Lunar New Year. Ice forms on Hong Kong's highest peak on the city's coldest day so far this winter. And Apple Daily's former publisher says the newspaper launched a campaign against China 1 month before the national security law took effect.
喺下個月嘅農曆新年期間，我哋通關係作出特別安排。
After much fanfare, the chief executive has announced that operating hours at 2 border checkpoints will be extended during the Lunar New Year next month. The decision came weeks after thousands of mainlanders were stranded at cross-border coach depots and MTR stations after watching the fireworks display in Hong Kong on New Year's Eve. That was because the Lo Wu and Lok Ma Chau stations were shut and most control points closed at midnight.
係深圳灣口岸。
Shenzhen Bay border control point over the 5 days of the Chinese New Year will operate round the clock. From Chinese New Year's Eve to the 4th day of the Chinese New Year, that is from the 9th to the 13th of February, for Lo Wu border control point over the 9th and the 11th of February, the Lo Wu control point will extend its operating hours by 2 hours to 2 a.m.
我哋要喺呢個黃金2小時入邊咧，做好一啲巡路同埋一啲鐵路嘅維修啦。咁所以我哋
Transport Minister Lam Sai-hong said the service hours at Lo Wu can only be extended on 2 days because the operator has to strike a balance between the flow of travelers and railway maintenance. Citybus revealed that it is looking to run 2 overnight bus routes between Tuen Mun and Shenzhen Bay Port. The operator also plans to provide a special route between Hong Kong Island and Lok Ma Chau between midnight and early morning. Transport Department approval is needed before routes NB3, NB3X, and 976S can start running. Janice Low, Cable News.
Hong Kong shivered today on its coldest day so far this winter. The temperature in urban areas fell to 6 degrees Celsius, and it was lower still in the new territories. As the mercury fell by 10 degrees overnight, ice formed on Tai Mo Shan. At one stage, the temperature on Hong Kong's highest peak plunged to minus 2.4 degrees. Our thermometer recorded a chilly 0.1 degrees on Tai Mo Shan. People were advised to avoid the peak, and all lanes of Tai Mo Shan Road were closed for public safety. But some elderly people ignored the freezing conditions and insisted on going for their daily morning hike. However, they made sure they kept as warm as possible. This hiker said she experienced even colder weather in recent years. Many children struggled to get out of bed and go to school. They wore as much as they could to keep out the cold. This boy put on 4 layers of clothing and a mask to protect his face. Another child wore 5 layers and still thought they weren't enough. Care teams visited senior citizens in need, delivering quilts and soup to ensure they stay warm and healthy. With most people wrapping themselves up, geriatrician Paul Shi urged the elderly to wear at least 3 layers of clothes indoors. Janice Yu, Cable News.
The former publisher of now-folded Apple Daily has told West Kowloon Magistracy that the newspaper had launched a campaign to urge Washington to sanction Beijing 1 month before the national security law took effect in Hong Kong in 2020. John Kim Hong, who was also chief executive of the newspaper's parent company Next Digital, was testifying against his former boss Jimmy Lai. Lai is accused of conspiring to collude with foreign forces and publish seditious publications. Zheng said Lai launched a One Hong Konger, One Letter campaign to encourage people to write to former U.S. President Donald Trump so that he will exert pressure on Beijing to reconsider its action. The former publisher also said Lai did not think that it was a big deal for protesters to damage shops during anti-government protests, and praised demonstrators for being brave during the social unrest in 2019. The trial continues tomorrow.
The death toll from a landslide in Yunnan province has risen to 20. Rescuers are racing against the clock to find 24 people still missing. But their efforts are hampered by freezing conditions. The landslide near the southwestern city of Jiaotong occurred after a cliff collapsed. More than 200 people who were affected have been accommodated in temporary shelters. Tents, coats, and thick clothes have been sent to the area as President Xi Jinping ordered rescuers to go all out.
Israel's offensive in Gaza is now focused in the south, where at least 65 Palestinians were killed when the city of Khan Yunis was shelled overnight. Since October, nearly 25,500 Palestinians have been killed and over 60,000 wounded as Israel retaliated for a Hamas attack. With over 2 million people displaced and lacking the basic necessities, Hamas official Osama Hamdan has urged the World Health Organization to declare Gaza a famine zone. As the destruction of Gaza continued, European Union foreign ministers acknowledged that there won't be peace unless a Palestinian state is created.
Everybody agreed that the death toll among civilians is excessive, that the situation is as much dire as you could imagine, with a widespread hunger and a serious lack of humanitarian deliveries and access.
Military spokesman Daniel Hagari said 21 soldiers were killed in Israel's deadliest day for its troops since the launch of the ground offensive in Gaza. The reservists were in 2 central Gaza buildings that collapsed after an explosion. The deaths came a day after relatives of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza disrupted a meeting of lawmakers to demand the government do more to secure their release. The relatives and their supporters have also continued to protest outside the home of the Prime Minister.
We know is that we cannot sit there and wait while we're being told that there are deals on the table and that they are being turned down by our government. We need the government to bring these people home right now. Their time has run out.
The city's stock market has rebounded one day after dropping to a 15-month low. The Hang Seng Index gained 2.6% to climb above the 15,000-point mark. The recovery came as Premier Li Qiang emphasized during a State Council meeting the need to adopt measures to stabilize the market and investors' confidence. In Hong Kong, Chief Executive John Lee assured the public that the authorities have not noticed anything unusual but are monitoring the market closely. Bourse operator Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing gained 5.3% and China Merchants Bank jumped 6.1%.